Samuel wasn't searching for anything that evening. He was simply tidying a drawer, moving old receipts and faded photographs when his hand stopped. There it was, an envelope, yellowed with time, his name written across it in a hand he hadn't seen in decades. The sight of it was enough to still the room. The lamp glowed softly, the air seemed heavier, and Samuel felt the weight of memory pressing against him. Do you know that feeling? When something unexpected pulls you back through the years, when the past suddenly sits in your hands, asking to be remembered. He sat at the kitchen table, the envelope resting before him. The silence of the house seemed to deepen, as though the walls themselves were waiting. He traced the handwriting with his finger, familiar, achingly so, a friend from long ago, a voice he hadn't heard in years. The envelope felt heavier than it should. He wondered if opening it would bring joy or sorrow, or perhaps both. He thought of the years that had passed, the people who had drifted away, the promises that had faded with time. The lamp flickered slightly, casting shadows across the table. Samuel leaned back in his chair, listening to the faint hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of the old clock on the wall. The house was quiet, but the envelope seemed to hum with its own energy. Do you remember moments like that, when you hold something from the past and wonder if you're ready to face what it carries? With careful fingers, Samuel broke the seal. The paper inside was fragile, but the words were clear. They spoke of summers by the river, evenings filled with laughter, promises to stay in touch. As he read, the room shifted. He could almost hear the splash of water, the echo of voices, the hum of cicadas. The letter was not just ink on paper, it was memory, alive again. He leaned back, closing his eyes, and the memories unfolded. The smell of grass by the riverbank, the sound of his friend's laughter, the sunlight dancing across the water. Do you recall such moments? Times when friendship felt eternal, when the world seemed wide but safe, when every day carried promise. Samuel remembered the small details, the way his friend always carried a pocket knife, the way they skipped stones across the river, the way they promised to write letters when life carried them apart. He thought of the first letter he had written back, carefully choosing words, hoping they would carry across the miles. He remembered waiting for replies, the excitement of seeing his name on an envelope, the comfort of knowing someone far away was thinking of him. He remembered the long walks home after those summer days, the way the sky turned golden, the way the air smelled of earth and grass. He remembered laughter echoing across the fields, promises whispered under the stars. Do you remember writing letters? The careful choice of words. The letter spoke of evenings spent watching the stars, of conversations that stretched late into the night, of dreams shared beneath the quiet sky. Samuel remembered lying on the grass, staring up at the stars, listening to the quiet hum of the world around him. He remembered the way his friend's voice sounded in the dark, steady and sure, filled with hope for the future. He remembered the way they spoke of what they would become, of the lives they would build, of the adventures they would take. Do you recall nights like that, when the world felt endless, when the stars seemed close enough to touch, when every dream felt possible? The letter ended with a simple line, "I hope you never forget these days." Samuel smiled. He hadn't forgotten. And now, with the letter before him, he felt those days return. He thought of the friend who had written it. Where was he now? Did he still remember those summers? Those promises? The questions lingered, But they did not bring sadness. Instead, they carried peace. The act of remembering was enough. He thought of how memory works, how it can fade, yet return with a single spark. He thought of how the past is never truly gone, but waits quietly, ready to be recalled. Do you feel that too? The way memory can soothe, the way reflection can bring peace, the way the past can cradle the present? Samuel placed the letter gently on the table. The lamp flickered, the night grew quiet, and outside the stars began to appear. He poured himself a glass of water, sat by the window, and let the memories settle. The letter had also carried him forward into a place of calm, of gratitude, of rest. He looked out at the stars, remembering how he and his friend once counted them, believing they could hold the whole sky in their hands. He smiled at the thought, at the innocence of youth, at the beauty of memory. The night deepened. The house was quiet. The letter remained on the table, a silent companion. Samuel closed his eyes, his heart full of peace, and drifted slowly into sleep.